So today we have Kim Lacey coming to talk to us about gardening in the shade. I don't know about you guys, but there's a lot of times where I think by August, everything that I have wants to be in the shade. But anyway.
So today, this was a hard subject, really. I thought it was going to be, but you know what? If you look at your handouts y'all picked up, it's crazy, the things that can grow in part shade. So let's just start by talking about where you start, basically, when you're going to try to figure out if you have a shade garden. Because some people think that they have full shade, and they really don't. Unless you're out there every hour, on the hour, all through the year. So these are some really pretty shade garden pictures I found. I love caladiums. I used to have shade on the east side of my house, east, southeast. But my husband, he said, well, that tree's got to go. I get home, 3 are gone. So the whole concept of that side of my house has changed. So, okay, so let's see. Let's see. The first thing you need to do is your groundwork. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here, I know, but I review this on every seminar I do at Bobo's. So you need to determine your hardiness zone. The hardiness zones are going crazy. The scientific stuff that I've read about it, they're moving north at a rapid pace, like 13 miles a year. And they only do these hardiness zones every like 11 years. So like, let's see, but let's talk about, then you test your soil. We know that, we have been preached to on that. And then you determine how much light you get. That was the most beautiful picture. That was so majestic to me, so I just had to use it. But anyway, so here's the 2012 hardiness zone by the USDA. There's other maps out there that people put out, but USDA is the one that we should use. There's 2012 and there's 2023. 2023 is the last one. I think they updated it, but not, they just revised it. That's the word I'm trying to find. Okay, so I know y'all can't see it, but you can kind of see how it's changed a little bit. Here's the 2012 map. Here's Leon County. That's 8B. We're deep in 8B, okay? Okay, fine. So then we move to the 2023 map, and it's really kind of hard to see, but Leon County, this is 8B, but right here, if you look at Leon County, on the edges right there, that's 9A. We are classified in 2 different zones right now. And like I said, it's moving at a rapid pace. So what does that mean for us? It means it's going to be hotter with milder winters, but it also means there's good and bad things, but we may be able to plant things in our yard that people down, closer to the coast, that we can't grow that here because it's going to freeze and not come back. Well, it looks like we're going to be able to do that soon. So they probably won't put out another map. They do it like, it looks that was like 11 years that they did the last one, between the 2. So we'll see what they do. So then we talked about testing the soil. Now, we don't have an extension agent here, but I was going to ask them. Now, back when I was just starting this program, they told, we got to do the test, everybody took their little kit home and tested their soil, and they sent it off for us. But they told me that if you do it through the extension office, that you get your results back faster. Did anybody else hear that? So if I test soil, I'm going to go take it to them and let them mail it off. So, is it still $25, or does anybody know? And about testing soil, it tells you on the instructions, but don't just test in one spot. Test, they tell you the spacing. Because like at my house, one place is red clay, another place is like completely sandy. You got to see what's down there. So get your soil test, and don't just do the top of it. Don't scrape. You have to go down a certain, and it tells you in there. But there's also these little handy dandy things I found online. There's rapid test and soil pH test, and you stick them in the ground. Has anybody ever tried one of these?
Yeah.
Have you? Okay. What was the results? Good. I mean, were they correct? Or?
It was close. It wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be, but it was.
Yeah, I'm not sure that they go down deep enough. Now on this other one right here.
You have to make sure you push it.
Yeah, that one you push down, and I don't know how long it is.
What they're showing on there, they're actually longer than that.
Yeah, yeah.
They're showing it in the ground. So
Now this one, I think you have to do it, you have to go down in there and get it yourself, and then you mix it in with a solution. So you have more control over how deep you go with this one than with this one, because it's limited to however long those prods are. Okay, so let's see, our guide to sun exposure. All right, I checked several different spaces. Oh, Joe Fran just came in the room. Let's ask her. Oh, it's like something that when I first started Master Gardeners, we talked about soil sample testing. And I was told that, Richard told us that if we bring it back to the extension office and y'all send it off, we would get the results back faster. Is that still true, or was that just a myth? They just.
No, it's drop it off in their lab. There's no way for me to put it as an AV or not.
Okay, I just thought if the kid would, Richard had just.
If you go drop it off.
Oh, okay, okay. So you're gonna drop them off, Haley? Is that what you said? Okay. Okay, so yes, I checked several different spaces, but this is your basic guide to your sun exposure. Full sun is 6 hours of light or more. Partial sun and partial shade are pretty much the same thing, about an hour difference. So you can call it what you want. I divided it. Some of them don't divide it up. Then the full shade is less than 3 hours of light, and then deep shade is no direct light at all. So that's your little guide to go by when you get your little meters. Okay, so I got one of these. These are your sun calcs. I didn't bring it with me because it's small, but it's pretty cool looking. But it was so overcast the days that I was going to try to use it that I didn't use it. And here's another example of one. But what it does, it monitors, and you can't see it, but there's little lights that come on. And so you leave it out there all day. And that says full sun, partial shade, and then full shade. So when you go back to pick it up, only one light's going to be on, and it's going to tell you what that area gets. Pretty cool. I'm going to try it when I'm at home and have time to do it. But here's another example of somebody that has a lot of time on their hands and is home all the time. These are sections of the yard that somebody, like it says, back corner of the garden, front garden, garden by the fence, a vegetable garden. And they've got every hour from 8 a.m. all the way to 9 p.m. And they put down exactly what kind of shade that they had at that moment in that space. I don't have that kind of time. And I've seen some other models too, to where it was a lot. It was graphs, and they did drawings. No, that's not okay. I didn't have time for that. But I thought this one was if you really had the time, but I would really rather have something that does it for me. So like I said, I'm gonna try this. I may do it tonight. I mean, at 9 in the morning, put it out if we're gonna have sun tomorrow and see what it does. But yeah, that is one way, two ways actually, to test your sun exposure. Now, does it matter where the sun rises and sets? I wish Noveline was here, but she's not. That's okay. Yes, and maybe, I don't know. It just depends. So it depends on where your plants are. So here, I mean, I'm not going to go into a big long explanation about the equinoxes and the solstices, but basically what happens is in June and December, those are your equinoxes. That means that the sun lines up with the equator perfectly, and there's only 2 times in the year that happens. But we rotate around the sun. The sun doesn't move, but it looks like it does. So this guy's standing here. Now I'll just give you an example. This is my house. He's standing in the backyard of my house. Now, in the winter, that's where my sun is. In the summer, that's where my sun rises. And so my yard gets different light at different times because there's a tree right there, and there's trees in the front yard. So yeah, I mean, was everybody aware of the equinoxes and how that moves? We move, and the sun rises in different places. And so that's just an interesting fact too to think about when you're planting a garden that's going to be, you consider a shade garden, because basically this is the north side of my house. This is my backyard, and I'll show y'all. Those are my azaleas in my backyard, and that's one spot. And then And these were the most beautiful. These azaleas are over 35 years old. They're old school azaleas. I don't even know what name they are or anything. And that's one side over there. My outdoor kitchen's there. But this side, this is that side that like, the sun's over here in the summer and then it's over there in the winter. Now these guys, they showed out this year and then it rained, real bad rain, and then they were just gone. But yeah, they do fine back there. They don't get any sun at all, hardly. I mean, nothing. There's a tree right there and there's trees in the front yard. But I mean, they survive and they're old school, like I said. But but I was kind of proud of those. I just wanted to show you. I can grow something. Okay, so, but there are other things to consider also, like we talked about the trees, but there's also structures you have to think about. Your house, your barns. This is my front yard. That's Zeke right there. Hi, Zeke. So when I planted this front yard, I was so proud. This was a long time ago. Alex was little. She's 35 now. These are pitiful little drift roses. So are these. And then back there, those are some Indian hawthorn. I love Indian hawthorn. When I planted them, I planted these trees also. They were little trees. Now guess what? They're not little trees anymore. And now I have a very shady, south exposed front yard. And so I am going to probably move those. We will see. Now this, does anybody recognize this? This is a Veterans Memorial. The garden behind it, behind the wall with all the names on it. Now, this was at 7:30 a.m. I did this one. I went and took a picture. Now, and because I'm like, okay, so like this has got the building here and then the walls over here. You can't see it. You can, I think you can in the next clip, but yeah, you've got like red yucca back there and drift roses. Those those need a lot of sun, right? So that's at 7:30 the other morning. Then I got my help from Cindy Page because I was at home. Cindy went and took this one at noon. And look, yeah, hey, you know, there's the wall. Y'all can see the wall. And there's the building still. Believe it or not, you know, of course, you know, the sun's up here. It's going to get, everything is going to get it unless there's a tree. And there's not in this area. So it is getting some sun. Now, Cindy took another picture for me at 5 p.m. It's still kind of in the same place. I haven't seen the yucca get any sun. Now, I was going to try to take one more picture a little bit later. So I'm not sure. It may depend because, let's see, that faces west. It may depend on, you know, the solstices or not, whether those yucca hardly get any sun at all, but they still bloom. I mean, they're still doing good. So that's an example of a plant that we really think should be out in the sun all the time, and I don't see it getting much at all. So there are ways to create more sun exposure. Limb up your trees. Limb up your trees can mean two things. It can mean cutting your bottom limbs off. I mean, don't go and scalp your trees just to, you know, get shade. But the limbing up is like the bottom limbs, any kind of ugly limbs. And then you can actually go in there and prune some inner limbs too. You know, it's just like pruning your roses or something. If there's branches that cross over, you can still go up in there and create dappled sunlight. Let's see, another way to do it is buy plants that get a little height. They can reach the sun. I mean, sometimes your shade gardens, if they're low, they don't ever see the sun, but it's interesting. If you look, sometimes the taller plants are actually getting some sun exposure. Reflective surfaces to amplify the available light. So, does anybody have an example of a reflective surface that they would like to share? Like water, mirrors, a white wall, yes. Anything that's a brighter color, a lighter color. And don't overcrowd your landscape. I'm really bad about that. I like a lot together. And when I build dish gardens sometimes, it's too much because those plants get bigger and then they don't look pretty anymore because they're fighting for, you know, space. So, you know, read your tags. Don't overcrowd your landscape. Your plants are going to grow. Let's see. So here is an example of a lint. It's kind of blurry, sorry. But this was a very, let's look at the light exposure down here. And it looks like it's the same time of day. But look how from limbing up this tree, from pruning it out and limbing it up a little bit on the bottom, created a whole lot more sun exposure in there. And here's an example of some of these plants that are taller, that are getting some light to where these guys are not. And here's an example of some reflective surfaces. There's your little pool, and you've got your concrete that's a light color, light colored walls, even light colored mulch works. So those are some examples of that. And here are some of my favorites. So this is Turk's cap. Everybody knows that. Does anybody have Turk's cap in their landscape? Look at all the hands. It comes, I mean, who has the white? I need some. I really want some white. I've got the red and pink. I think David Bradley, I got the pink from David Bradley, who just showed. And then this southern wood fern. That is so cool. The southern wood fern and the holly ferns are the two ferns that I know of around here that are perennials that do well. Ferns are just, I think they just make a very soft, texture. Texture is important in a shade garden because you don't have a lot of color most of the time. American beautyberry. I know we consider that a weed, mostly because it grows like crazy, but not all the time. But that is a very easy way to add some color, and it grows in the shade. Doesn't care where it grows. Neither does the dwarf Rio pond. I can testify to that. But yeah, and here's Greg's mist flower. Does anybody have those in their landscape? I mean, I know that because what they are, because where I work, but they are just very beautiful. And does anybody know the story about Greg's? Why we have the Greg eye and Greg's? Does anybody know that story about where that name, who it was named after? I'm gonna have to read this to you. Okay, so Greg's mist flower was named after Josiah Gregg, and he was an early botanist who traveled through Texas in the 1840s. And he's got like over 20 native plants named after him, including the Salvia gregi. So that's where when you see anything with a Greg on it, that's the dude that went around Texas finding native plants. So a fun fact too, did y'all know that, well, because it happens all the time around here, but plants seed themselves. Like if you have a plant that blows and it's in the sun, but it blows into the shade and it comes up, you're like, oh, well, that's growing in the shade. It's not supposed to be doing that, but it does well. So what does that make that plant? So what is a native plant? A native plant means it's something that we've known that's been here for thousands of years, or it's a plant that has adapted to an area. So a lot of plants have adapted. We know that, we've studied that. And sometimes that's what happens. They either get thrown in the sun or they get thrown in the shade. But if you've noticed shade plants that have adapted, their leaves are bigger sometimes and thinner because that helps the plant pull the sun rays and photosynthesize more. They have a bigger area for it to attract the sunlight and photosynthesize and eat, basically. So yeah, and we have the coreopsis. Is there a lot of people that have coreopsis in their landscape? Teresa? Yeah, it'll grow. It don't care. Yeah, the coreopsis is going to go wherever it wants to, and it's going to grow wherever it wants to. There are so many, and the handouts I gave y'all, it was surprising that some of those, that they'll grow in part shade. Now, if you want to talk about deep shade, that's iffy. And I don't really, does anybody really in this room have deep shade at their house? And do they have a plant that grows there that does not get like one drop of sun ever? See, I have a place, but I don't have a plant there. It's my front porch. So, but I want to put ferns there, but I'm afraid they're not going to be okay because I've watched it out the front. And now I'm going to watch it this winter because that's when the sun is going to be rising, in my, closer to my front yard than it is my backyard. But I won't be having ferns in December. So there's that. But anyway, so those are some plants that you wouldn't think that would grow in the shade, but they do. David Bradley, do you have any Turk's cap in the shade?
Yes.
It does well.
Yes.
See? So I thought Turkish cap was just, a sun plant, but all these plants, I'm just using some of these for instances, but any of those on that list are part shade, part sun. Now, that being said, final thoughts, just because you have a garden area that's shady does not mean you can't plant in it. Try to use some of these ideas and do some research. Check how many hours of sun it needs and make it work. You can have it something that looks like that if you want to. It's a lot of work. I know some landscapers, if you want me to give you their number. So does anybody have any questions? This was going to be a short one, but I think y'all can do. We've all got good gardens. I know y'all do. And Donna, yes, ma'am, I am trying to get my yard ready for the tour 1 year in the future. I don't know when it's going to be.